Welcome to Nona's Here. I'm Nona. Today, I am joining in the collaboration of 5 DIYs for $5 or less. Our hosts are Missy from Crafty Cove DIY and Emily from Farm Charm Chick, and their guest host, Dawn from Designs by Caddis. I will have all of their channel links down below in the description box. And they will have the complete playlist of everyone who is joining in today. Now, this is one of my favorite collaborations because I go and check out all of my supplies that I have from previous years. You know, too often we are too likely to rush out and buy the new things that have come out and not to go through our supplies that we have already in our stash. Today's theme is Easter decor, which I love doing Easter crafts. So I went through my Easter supply stash and did several of my crafts from what I already had. I really enjoy doing that. So be sure and check out the playlist and see what other crafters are doing for their 5 craft projects for $5 or less. All right, so thank you for joining us today, and a special thanks to Missy from Crafty Cove DIY, Emily from Farm Charm Chick, and the guest host, Dawn, for Designs by Caddis. Let's get over to my craft table and I'll show you what I've done for my 5 craft projects. I'm so glad you joined us all today, and I hope to see you again very soon at Nona's Here. DIY number 1. All right, now I've used this box that I made several years ago every month, and I change it out every month for the different seasons. So this was the Valentine one. So I'm taking all the Valentine stuff out and I'll bag it up and use it again next year. So I had a stem of tulips left that I had bought a while ago from Hobby Lobby. They were $9.99, but I got it on half price, so that was $5. And I had already used one stem, so I had saved the leaves from the stem that I had used. And I just cut them apart and I stuck them at random into the styrofoam that was already there. And I used the extra leaves from the other bunches that I had used previously and used that as filler. And I just put the tulips in the box, and there it is, all finished, and it will go back on a console table in my ingresso, which is the Italian word for entryway, where the little box always stays for the different seasons. And that's it. This project did cost me $5 for the one bunch of tulips, and I think it looks real pretty. I did have some little eggs on the bottom of my supply stash, and I stuck those in. All right, DIY number 2. This one, I had a frame that I was going to use for something else. I had painted it white and dry brushed it with gold, but the glass had broken. So I used that frame. I had some scrap paper, and I trimmed around it, and I then used my glue stick and put it on the back of the frame for a background. And then I had I bought that stick-on tile, and I had a pattern of a mason jar, and I cut that out. Now, I was a little wasteful because I wanted the pretty design of the middle put in the middle of the mason jar. So I cut that out. Now, you'll see I'm gluing it on to the scrap paper back of the frame, but I'm not gluing it all the way down at the top because I want to stick some things in there. This is my handmade, homemade twirler that I use to twirl the flowers that I make on my Cricut with the cardstock. And so I had made several flowers, so I pulled those out, and then I use a little dowel, and the outside petals, I use this little dowel and I fold the outside petals outwards, and then the inside petals inward, to make the flower look more realistic. I had made a whole bunch of flowers just practicing, so I pulled some of those flowers out that I had already made in pinks, different shades of pink and purple. And then I had this wire from when I had ordered some Sola wood flowers, and I used those as stems. And I just punched a little hole in the bottom of the flowers, and I hot glued the wire stems into the cardstock flowers. I put a dot of glue on the bottom of the flower and a dot of glue on the wire stem, and stuck them in and let them dry. And they stayed in, the wire stem stayed in pretty well. So then I stuck the flowers into the mason jar and kind of got an idea of how I wanted them to be arranged into the mason jar to look like they were coming out of the mason jar. So there I just glued them in there and made sure I had enough hot glue to hold them in. You can see I'm hot gluing the flowers and I'm hot gluing the stems too. So that's why I didn't push the mason jar tile all the way down, because I wanted to stick the stems in. So now I'm just kind of fiddling with how I want those flowers to fit in. And the wire stems are real thin, so they're easy to manipulate. I could fold them and bend them any way that I wanted. So I just fiddled with that for a while to kind of decide how I wanted them to look coming out of the jar. And that's what I'm doing now. Just kind of fiddling with it. Now, I knew I had to do something else to keep those stems sturdy in there. So what I did was, and you'll see it in just a minute, I had to take duct tape and duct tape the stems down underneath the, I keep calling it the mason jar, but you know the design of the mason jar, because the tile, the stick-on tile, wasn't heavy enough to hold all those little stems. So I took duct tape after I got it all arranged about how I wanted it. Then I sort of had to take everything off. See, that's how I wanted it to look. And then I had to take the duct tape and use the duct tape to tape over the stems to hold them down so that they wouldn't fall out. So I did like 2 layers of duct tape to make sure the stems would stay down. And like I said, though, that wire was real easy to bend, so I could bend it any way I wanted to after I got the wires down securely. And then I simply folded the mason jar tile up and over and covered all the duct tape, and that finished the picture. Then I took my Cricut and I cut out Easter blessings that I put on the bottom. So the only thing I really bought new for this was the stick-on tile, because I had the frame that had, the glass had broken, and I already had played around with the cardstock making the flowers. So this cost me about $2 to make, because I had used stuff out of my stash. DIY 3. Now I'm going to show you a whole bunch of stuff, but I didn't use near all of it. Everything I used was from my stash except for this sign. That's the only thing I bought new. And of course I got it at Dollar Tree. So I didn't use this top of the sign, but I used another one. Here's a whole bunch of ribbon, but I didn't use it. I did use this onion grass with the sparkly eggs at the top. I used these window clings. I wanted to use a light blue, but I didn't have one, so I took some chalk paint and mixed it together. The vintage teal and the plaster to come up with a lighter blue, and I painted the back of the sign. And then everything else is from my stash. So I had this one banner that had this cute little top that said Happy Easter with the chick. That little yellow chick you're seeing in the middle was in the middle of the banner. So I cut that apart. And then you're seeing window clings that I had left over, and I took those apart. Then you're seeing some onion grass with the sparkly eggs. I used those. And that's the top that I used. I used wood glue and then a hot glue for the fast hold. And I put that at the top, and that made the holder. And that was at the top. And it already had a little pink string on it for the holder. And then I took the yellow chick that was in the middle of that banner that I had gotten at Dollar Tree and put that in the middle. And then I put the onion grass with the sparkly eggs in the middle and hot glued them on. And then I had some of those little felt eggs left over from another year, and I covered the hot glue with those. And then I just stuck on those glass window clings in between. So everything was from my stash other than the board. So that's how it looked when I was all done. And I think it came out real cute. And I thought I put on here how much I thought I spent, but it was like maybe $3. All right, DIY number 4. All right, so I bought this. This is new. I bought this bunny at Dollar Tree, and this Just Chanel yarn, which I had bought previously, but I did use some of this, and I would say it took maybe a third of a skein, and I wrapped it around this bunny. I love these big bunnies. I think that's one of the best deals at Dollar Tree. And I just used hot glue to attach it in the back. And it's not the real chunky yarn, so it took a little bit more wrapping than if you get that real chunky yarn. But it worked out okay. So I wrapped it all around the bunny. And then I did have to go back to Dollar Tree, boo-hoo, and buy some pink yarn to do his ears. And so I did that, and it wasn't real easy to wrap the rabbit because my yarn wasn't real chunky, but it was okay. So I had a plan for that. All right, so there is the pink chunky, Just Chanel yarn that I got to do his ears. It was bright pink. I really liked it. So I wrapped his ears, and you can see there in the back. And then I found a purple polka dot bow. Oh, then I used the feet, because if you look at his feet, the feet aren't covered real well. See, there's places that I couldn't cover the yarn with. So my plan was to use these big bunny feet to cover that. And I had those in my stash, and I think I got 6 for $1.25 last year. So I just hot glued those on to cover where the feet weren't covered real well. See, always a plan. And then I found this lavender polka dot bow in my stash, so I hot glued that on. And then in the back, I took some of the pink yarn and made a hanger, and that was it. That was it. That was my pink and white bunny. Thought he came out real cute. And I figured that cost me about $3.50. And he's hanging in my craft room right now. I think he's real cute. All right, last one, DIY 5. I figured you needed something really simple for this one. So I got these 3 planters, plastic planters. You get a 3-pack. And I used my maize chalk paint. It's yellow. And I had to give it 2 coats. And I did buy this little chick with a tuft of hair on top. I had this green grass left over. I still had a couple of this grass, onion grass stems with the sparkly eggs on top. So I gave the planter 2 coats of the chalk paint. Then I took the sparkly grass. Oh, before I did that, I had I used one of those chunky green styrofoam that I had in my stash, but I counted that into the price. And I hot glued that to the bottom because I needed something to stick the onion grass stems in. And so I stuck the onion grass stems with the sparkly eggs on top into the styrofoam after I hot glued the styrofoam into the bottom. Then I stuck the grass on top of the styrofoam, and I set the little chick on top of the grass, and I had an egg or 2 left over of those little eggs, and I put 1 or 2 in his lap, and that was it. And $4.25, quick and easy. And that's my last 5 for 5. Tell me what you think. Which one was your favorite? Thanks so much for joining us. And again, thanks to our host and guest host for today's 5 for $5. Hope to see you again soon at Nona's Here. Bye.